Before this, I did not know what an investor was, but I just thought they had the coolest job in the world. I'm like, it's so amazing that they get to
Yeah.
wake up every single day and, meet with founders that are trying to make the world a better place than it was yesterday.
Jill Klinvex, thank you for joining my show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Michael. Thank you for having me. Long time no see.
Long time no see. I believe the last time we saw each other we were 16, 17,
I know. I
properly?
think, yeah, I was 16. I think you were 16 as well. We were both at MIT trying to work on our first startups. It was a good time.
Dido me, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you remembered, and you were doing any meal.
And you remembered, okay? So that was our fun stint in high school.
Yeah.
We both met at the MIT entrepreneurship program, Launch X, with the wonderful instructors and cohort, and then we're still in touch today. So it's really really great to
Yes.
see now. And obviously, we both went on different yet similar paths. We are both really passionate about working with startups and with seeing what's happening in the world of technology and how we can leverage innovation to really make the world a better place. And I think that the work that you're doing as principal at Capital Factory is really incredible. And I can't wait to learn both about your journey, learn about Texas and the venture capital space over there, and some specific things that you're particularly passionate about. So Jill, get me started off about your journey and go even further back than MIT. What gets you into the MIT program, and since then, how do you get to the VC space?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I went to the MIT program, I grew up in very small towns. And I think for many of us that have grown up in small towns, you get bored and also curious. And so my dad at one time was taking a business trip up to Boston, and I had some time off of school. And so he's like, hey, you want to come join me? And I figured, why not? I'd never been to Boston. And I remembered actually, funny enough, it might sound a bit silly, but from watching Legally Blonde as a little girl, that Elle Woods went to Harvard. And so I was like, wait, Harvard's in Boston. I should go check it out. And so I did a little college tour while my dad was working. I went to Harvard, MIT, BU. And I was so impressed with, what the schools were doing. And I was meeting people who I found that I had a lot of
I have
commonality
to
with.
stop you, Jill,
Yes.
because I don't know if you know this, but I was Professor Callahan and Legally Blonde in high school the year after Launch X,
No
and
way.
I actually, when I went to visit colleges myself, I actually sang the song "Blood in the Water" in the Harvard Law School auditorium.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's just
Go figure. I would have assumed you would have done it. What have you not done? Well, I think, Legally Blonde, it was a great movie, and I think it inspired a lot of young women because, you know, some of us saw ourselves in, the good old Elle Woods. So, yeah, I did a lot of these college tours, met great people. And funny enough, when I was there, I was talking to different professors, and they're like, well, you're still a few years out from applying, but a lot of these colleges and universities offer these summer programs. And so I figured, why not apply to one? But let's see, I think I initially applied to one at Harvard, and I found it very interesting. And then I just so happened to get like a flyer from this new MIT Launch X program that was starting. And I was like, oh my gosh, MIT, like, I don't think I could get in there, but what the hell, I'll try. And ended up getting into the program and went to go spend the summer in Boston. And that's where I met you. And we were able to work on our startups and, do some really exciting things there. And I think what was so unique about that program is the exposure that it gave, young people to,
yes.
the wonderful world of startups and venture. And, I think as young people, we're often taught, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, but there's really so many careers that are out there. And, you can be your own boss or, do something that's a little bit untraditional. And so when I was there, I was exposed, obviously, to, starting a company. And a big part of the program, as you know, was pitching to anyone and everyone and telling them your idea. And at the end of the program, it concluded with pitching to investors. And before this, I did not know what an investor was, but I just thought they had the coolest job in the world. I'm like, it's so amazing that they get to
Yeah.
wake up every single day and meet with founders that are trying to make the world a better place than it was yesterday. So I just knew from then on, like,
Hopefully.
that's what yeah, we hope. Hopefully they're not just going after some crazy returns, but I just really inspired by what they were doing. And so I decided that I wanted to get into VC and found it a little bit hard to break into. So started a few companies along the way just to kind of catch the eye of investors, and ended up starting a platform that helped investors evaluate investment opportunities, and ended up getting my foot in the door. And I spent, my first gig in VC was as an analyst at a VC firm in New York. It was a private family office run by Michael Loeb, who
You actually dropped out for a year in order to do that, right?
Yes, I did. Low risk, high reward. I know you took a few years off yourself. But, if you get the opportunity to drop out of school for a bit, I highly recommend it. I think it really helps you, learn what you want to do in the future. And it's a nice kind of trial run in a safe environment. So I joined Loeb Enterprises in New York for a few years and left school, and then ended up going back to school, finishing off my senior year of college, and then got a full-time offer to join Capital Factory in Austin. And so that is where I am now.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to take in, but fast forward to Capital Factory. So you're a principal investor there. I believe you've sourced something over 80 deals, right? With most of them having at least one minority founder. So first of all, young VC, energetic, you've seen some of the startup space yourself. You're in Texas. Why Austin? Why choose to be in a VC in Austin? I don't know Austin at all. I know that it's a crazy, crazy opportunity to be there now, but why go there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and it's one that we get a lot. But Austin has been one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country for about 9 years straight. And over the last few years, we've added over 500,000 people to the city. So we're seeing entrepreneurs, tech employees, and just overall ambitious individuals that are flocking to Austin. I personally moved here a little bit less than 2 years ago from New York. And I think it's interesting because once COVID hit, it really accelerated the trend that was already happening. So I'm sure if you read the news headlines, you'll see it. But every day there's, a new celebrity, a new venture capital firm, a large corporate headquarter that's relocating to Texas. Over the last few months,
Right.
we've seen, HP, we've seen Oracle announce their new headquarters in Texas. We've had Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Tim Ferriss move here.
Yes.
Most recently, 8VC and Briar Capital moved their firms here as well. And so, I think Austin is.
Sounds like I should be moving there soon.
You should be. I don't know why you haven't done it yet. You're always ahead of the trends.
I'm going to take that to heart.
Good. Well, you always have a place to come stay here. But, Austin is and will continue to be an important startup city. We have UT Austin at, the heart of the city, which is definitely a feeder institution. They produce a ton of future CEOs, leaders, and just top talent that end up going on to, work for the tech companies here. Many corporations have their corporate and regional headquarters in Austin. So we have, for example, Oracle, Whole Foods, Facebook, IBM, Silicon Labs.
Wow.
I mean, the names are endless, but all these companies really attract top talent from across the globe that, move to Austin and maybe stay for a few years at those companies, but then they go on to innovate and create new technologies here. And
Right.
so it's really amazing to see all of the talent that is here. And I think overall, talent attracts the companies, the corporations, and it's just really wonderful. But I think at the same time, with Austin growing so rapidly and just the other Texas cities overall, I think it's, we need to continue to have our local politicians work with tech entrepreneurs to continue to make Austin a desirable place for, entrepreneurs and corporations to come work together. So making sure there's still good tax incentives, having an international airport, being able to do these things that continue to make Austin a great city and attract more talent here.
I think that's just so cool. But on the other side, so that's one very special thing that you're doing. But you're also really focused on bringing underrepresented groups as founders and backing them and supporting them. And the 2021, to say the least, we're in a time period where these things are in the headlines. Every single day, if not more than that. What is your take on the funding space in general? What have been some of the trends? How do you end up sourcing so many deals through underrepresented founders? Is that intentional? Is that because of your location? What's happening there?
Yeah, I think, for me, just being a woman in VC, women are underrepresented in the landscape. And so for me, it's something that's always been near and dear to my heart. And, a lot of people might say it's a pipeline problem. I strongly disagree with that. But I would say my particular area of focus has been on underrepresented founders for many reasons. But kind of a few stand out to me in particular. I'd probably say three are kind of at the top of mind. But one is minority founders have been underrepresented in the venture capital landscape since the beginning of time. In
Of course,
2018,
right?
only 1% of venture dollars went to Black founders, and about
What?
0.2%. Yeah, the numbers are wild if you read all the studies,
Okay, I
but
didn't know it was that bad.
yeah, and about 0.2% went to Black female founders. And then just from, this most recent year from 2019 to 2020, the dollars that were allocated to female founders decreased. So I really think just reading the numbers overall should drive us to action, right? And number two, I'd say underrepresented teams, they financially perform better. And, it's no secret, VCs are in the business of making money. But there's a ton of studies on this topic. But one of my favorites was done by Boston Consulting Group. And the conclusion of it was that, for every dollar of funding that is invested in a startup that's founded or co-founded by a woman, they generate about 70 cents on the dollar versus if you're going to invest into a male-founded startup, they're going to generate about 31 cents on the dollars. And for
Really?
investors, yeah, it's pretty wild. But, for investors that
Why do you
care,
think that is, or what do they? What do they say about that?
some of the things, and I think just the things that they say, and also, my meetings with female founders is, I found that they're very scrappy and they have to work with limited resources. They don't have as much access to capital. They're not in all the networks that maybe, male founders are. And so they have to learn
Right,
how to do a lot with a little. And so
right.
I think they're, really good at doing that. And last but not least, I think it's just, the right thing to do to invest in minority founders. We need more minority founders shaping the future of our world. We need more opinions and we need more voices. And I think, we need to continue to not just be open-minded, but also to support and invest our dollars into those groups.
Right. I think one of the big takeaways from 2020 has been that, by being, and obviously we have the whole Black Lives Matter movement and everything,
Yeah.
that one of the key things that it shined was, it's not just about, being open minded, but being a bystander and not taking
Yeah.
action is being a part of the problem, really. And you have
Hmm.
to be intentional about what you're doing. And we're seeing so many companies that are prioritizing on hiring for diversity, not just because
Hmm.
their talent is just as good, but it also promotes better culture, it promotes better understanding and
Hmm.
better humanity within the company. And you see a lot of VCs that are now saying we will only invest in companies that have at least one female co-founder, at least one co-founder of a minority status. And so I
Yeah.
think that definitely being intentional, it's not something to shy away from. And I think that
Hmm.
there is a correction that needs to be made. And I'm personally inspired by your passion and ambition for doing that. And so most of the deals that you've sourced actually were from underrepresented communities, right?
Yeah, over about the last year at Capital Factory, I brought in about 55 companies to our portfolio, and
Wow.
87% of those were run by a non-white male founder. And then, in particular, the targets that I have for, particularly underrepresented groups that have less access to capital than just non-white males are Latinx, Black, female, LGBTQ, veteran, and then also disabled individuals. And about 55% of those companies were founded by those targets. So yeah, it's been really fun, to work with all these different communities. And I think, for so many of us, we're surrounded by, different groups and networks, and they tend to kind of create that vicious cycle. I'm sure you've seen, warm intros are kind of the bread and butter of the VC world. If you can get a
Yep.
warm intro, it's kind of like your foot's in the door. But I think in the same kind of vein that warm intros create this vicious cycle of, who knows who. And so personally, what I love doing is just putting my time out there for anyone to meet with me. I kind of set a little bit of criteria. I'm looking to meet with seed and Series A companies and XYZ industries. But, being able to just let anyone and everyone, meet with me and be able to chat with them has brought in so many more opportunities than just the warm intros that I receive from, friends in the industry.
Right. So one thing that I'm hearing from you is by first opening yourself up to single cam. Oh, I'm not just going to be intentional about partnering with minority founders, I'm actually going to be intentional also on working with people that wouldn't have necessarily access to my, to a warm intro, and I just love that. But more broadly now about Capital Factory. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing there. What is sort of the thesis? How do you work with founders? One of the things that I love about this show is also getting to know really, the behind the scenes of how things operate. So, when you work there, like what is the process like, and what do you really enjoy doing over there?
Absolutely. So a few of the reasons that I, chose Capital Factory overall was its emphasis on diversity. And I think it really helps my job overall that, the partners that I work for care just about as much about diversity as I do. But
Right.
for those who don't know about Capital Factory, it's the most active early stage investor in Texas. And so
Wow.
we invest in more deals than any other investor in the state. So it's, really high deal flow volume. And while we are an industry agnostic firm, we'll invest in almost anything. We've done healthcare, CPG, medical devices, B2B SaaS companies. Over the last few years, defense has also been a huge push for us. And so for those who haven't been into our office, our 8th floor of our Austin office is called our Center for Defense Innovation. And there we have, the Air Force, the Army, we have folks like Booz Allen Hamilton and other prime contractors. And so it's a really cool place where investors, startups, and defense orgs and government orgs are all working together to produce and create cool new technology. And so that's one of my, favorite pieces about Capital Factory. But first and foremost, we are a VC firm, but we do have other programs, what we call Capital Factory Ventures, which you can kind of compare most similarly to an accelerator, but we do have other programs that help and support early stage founders. And our thesis is really on Texas. We are so excited about what's going on here. And, there's just so many startups flocking here. So our goal is to really continue to invest and support the Texas ecosystem and make it, the greatest state for startups.
I just love that. I really do love that. And what is sort of the relationship that you have with these founders? So first of all, obviously there's a trade-off. The more companies you invest in, you do have limited resources in how you cooperate with them. So and you do go very early stage. So what is the relationship like, and what is sort of this non-contractual agreement that you have with the founders as you go into this partnership?
Absolutely. It's a great question. I think, in the earlier days, it probably looked a bit different. But now that we've achieved such
Sure.
scale, we have created a really amazing and supportive ecosystem around us. So I think if you look at most VC firms, they probably look like 5 partners and their secretaries. But Capital
Yeah.
Factory is quite a bit larger. We have, an events and programming team. We have an investor relations team. We have a, Capital Factory Ventures team that's more of like kind of that platform accelerator piece to our business. Sorry, my dog is interrupting. I'm gonna give her a quick little treat.
We love dogs.
I know that.
Wait, did you just give her a treat through a phone?
Oh no, I have a whole jar sitting next to me ready.
I thought it was one of those really cool apps where you just click on a button and
Oh,
it
I
shoots a
wish.
treat from another device. That's
I
for
feel
the
like-
next episode.
Yeah, next time. I think she'd be too smart and probably take it down and take all the treats. She's an interesting one. She's my quarantine pup. But yeah, I
Amazing.
mean, kind of what our agreement looks like with those companies is we do make investments, but we also provide a lot of value outside of just that capital piece, right? So anyone can give you a check, but what can they actually help you with? And
Right.
so we
Right.
we provide a lot of resources. I'd say the top 3 things that are universally known what startups need is generally access to talent, customers, and money. And so those are the 3 main areas that we support. So in terms of talent, we're making sure that we can help introduce them to their next co-founder or their next CTO, or say they're like, hey, we need 5 sales reps to start. Like, let's go out and help you find those folks. In terms of money, we have an investor relations team whose sole job is to help them fundraise. So, if they're saying, hey, we're going out to raise our Series B round, who are the top 5 lead investors we should go after? Who's that other strategic capital? That's our investor relations team job, is just to solely help our portfolio companies fundraise. In terms of customers, we have a large corporate innovation council. Think of these Fortune 500 companies that are looking for access to work with startups. We have all
Right.
the government organization relationships, and then also we have 200 plus mentors that work with us and are daily offering their office hours to these companies. And so All of our mentors are accredited investors or have exited a company in the past. And so they're all very talented and qualified. So it's really helped us achieve scale and be able to support all of these companies because our portfolio has gotten quite large.
I just love that. So how many companies in total are in the Capital Factory portfolio?
So between our accelerator and our investment fund, it's roughly around like 900-ish.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a bit much.
That's literally blown away. That's
Yeah.
literally what just happened there. Jill, 20 minutes go by way too fast, but I really thank you for taking the time to do this. Thank you for keeping in touch all those years. I can't believe it was
Yeah.
7, 8 years ago, and I just
It's
love the work that you're
wild.
doing. I think that the message that you're putting out there is fantastic, both for young women that are the Elwoods that are pursuing these that are interested in and can pursue this type of career, and I think that we're dropping out of college for a year to take that opportunity to be an analyst in the fund in New York. I think that really is a strong statement about what it takes sometimes to leverage these opportunities. And at the end, when we presented these opportunities, I'm all about jumping on them and taking them. And so I love that that's what you're doing and that's what your journey has done. So thank you for shedding light on that. And obviously your
Thank
work with
you.
underrepresented communities is incredible. Before we leave, I have the most important question: 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Well, this is a good one. For me, I would say, first would be intentional. Second would probably be goal oriented, and third, energetic. Those are the three that
I
I'd
love
choose.
that. I love that. Jill, thank you very, very much. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I can't wait to see what awesome things you're going to continue doing.
Oh, thank you, Michael, and I appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure catching up and chatting more.